Why the U.S. never declared war on the Ottoman Empire in World War I. In April 1917, the United States entered World War I, declaring war on Germany. Later that year, it extended its war effort to Austria-Hungary. But there was one major central power that the U.S. never fought: the Ottoman Empire. While Britain, France, and Russia battled Ottoman forces across the Middle East, the U.S. remained distant. Why? Why didn't America declare war on the Ottomans? Unlike the European nations, which were bound by a complex web of alliances, the U.S. entered the war on its own terms. Its main concern wasn't global solidarity, it was ensuring victory where it mattered most. And by late 1917, the Ottoman Empire simply didn't seem like a priority. The British and their allies had already driven Ottoman forces back in key areas like Palestine and Mesopotamia. American military leaders saw no urgent need to send troops to fight in the Middle East when the Central Power's greatest strength was in Europe. In contrast, Austria-Hungary became a direct focus because of Italy's desperate situation. The Austrians were making significant gains, and Italy had just suffered catastrophic losses. With the risk of Italy collapsing, the U.S. declared war on Austria-Hungary to justify future military intervention there. But no such justification existed for the Ottoman front. America's war effort was largely driven by economic and political concerns. The primary goal was to support Britain and France, not just militarily, but financially. The U.S. had loaned them vast sums of money, and their ability to repay those debts depended on winning the war. If the Western Front collapsed, the economic consequences would be devastating for America. But the Middle Eastern Front? It wasn't tied to these financial concerns. The U.S. had no colonial interests in Ottoman territory, no desire to claim land in the region, and no critical economic stakes in its outcome. Washington saw no reason to get involved in a fight that wouldn't significantly impact its core objectives. Beyond immediate war strategy, there was a long-term consideration. Unlike Britain, France, and Russia, who had long-standing rivalries with the Ottoman Empire, the U.S. had maintained relatively neutral relations with Constantinople. In fact, many American diplomats saw this neutrality as an asset. President Woodrow Wilson hoped that, after the war, the Ottomans would view America as a potential counterbalance to European domination. Britain and France were already carving up the Middle East through secret agreements like Sykes-Picot. If the Ottoman Empire survived in some form, it might prefer economic and diplomatic ties with the one major power that hadn't fought against it. This wasn't just speculation. American businesses were already eyeing potential opportunities in the region. By staying out of the conflict, the U.S. positioned itself as a possible mediator in post-war negotiations and a future trade partner in the Middle East. There was another, less discussed reason why the U.S. avoided war with the Ottoman zone, rooted in its own colonial past. During the Philippine-American War, the Ottoman Sultan, who also held the title of Caliph of Islam, played an unexpected role. He used his influence to discourage Muslim rebels in the Philippines from rising against American rule. This left a lasting impression on U.S. policymakers. While many in Washington were grateful, they also recognized the power the Ottoman Caliph still held over Muslim communities. When World War I began, the Sultan issued a call for jihad against the Allies. If the U.S. had joined the fight against the Ottomans, there was real concern that this could trigger unrest among Muslim populations under American control, particularly in the Philippines. At a time when the U.S. was already committing massive resources to the European front, the last thing it wanted was a rebellion in its own territories. So, why didn't the U.S. declare war on the Ottoman Empire? The answer wasn't just one reason. It was a combination of strategy, economics, and political foresight. The Ottomans weren't seen as an immediate threat, and their defeat seemed inevitable without American intervention. The U.S. had little to gain from fighting them, but potentially much to lose, from economic opportunities to geopolitical stability. In war, the battles fought often define history, but sometimes the wars avoided reveal even more about a nation's priorities. And in the case of the Ottoman Empire, America's decision to stay out of the fight was a choice that shaped its role in the post-war world.